So we're gonna go over two Trump stories right now. We got both from CNN. The first one is a farmer who voted for Trump, hopes he won't do what he promised.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem on Capitol Hill today, making her case that she can lead one of the biggest government agencies, Homeland Security, which will be overseeing mass deportations that Trump has promised. But some of her own residents in South Dakota are telling CNN that they don't think she's qualified. This is part of a broader investigation that has frustrated Noem. Kyung La is out front.
How many hours does this go on?
It's 24 hours a day.
So you need workers like this year-round?
Yes, yes.
South Dakota dairy farmer Greg Mose supports Donald Trump and his pick of his governor, Kristi Noem, to lead the Department of Homeland Security.
The sheer number of illegal migrants coming into this country has made it so that every state is now a border state.
In this sparsely populated, landlocked state, these three South Dakotans have strong views of their governor and see what a potential Secretary Noem would mean to the rest of the country. The dairy farmer is drawn to what launched Noem into national politics, her pledge of a MAGA-style crackdown on illegal immigration. But it's a tricky issue for Mose.
What percentage of your workers are not U.S. born?
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
Do you know what the immigration status is of any of your workers?
I don't know.
Do you ask?
Well, can you ask? We have the right papers on file, and they're there is there.
Are you worried if there were a mass roundup of undocumented migrants that you might lose workers? You might not have enough workers.
How are they going to do that? Nobody will be filling the shelves. Nobody will be producing food. Within 2 days, we will not have food. There will not be food anywhere.
2 days?
Yes.
Does Governor Noem understand
How
that?
does this make any sense? Why would you be pro-Trump and mass deportation, but then you're talking about if we do mass deportation, there won't be no food anywhere in 2 days? How did make that make sense?
I would think so. I'm pretty sure.
It sounds like you have a lot of faith that they're not going to do what they're saying.
That's pretty much what I'm thinking. So we have to trust in our officials that are put in place.
I think if they follow through, he's going to lose a lot of workers.
Unlike the dairy farmer, Boyd Gurno, chairman of the Lower Brule Sioux tribe, believes Noem's mass deportation threats. The relationship between all 9 of South Dakota's tribes and Noem completely broken. All the tribes have banned her from walking onto native land. That's an estimated 15% of the governor's own state. The governor of the state, Kristi Noem,
Yeah.
she can stand where we are.
Yes. No.
Can she?
She can't cross the line. She's forbidden from our lands.
The governor of your state
Yes.
cannot come onto reservation.
Right.
How did this happen?
Basically, she said some very derogatory and untrue things about cartel holding up shop on reservations.
The cartels have a presence on several of South Dakota's tribal reservations. They have been successful in recruiting tribal members to join their criminal activity.
It's not true.
Is this about race?
I think it is, yes.
Why do you think that?
Did she say anything?
That's a pretty intense thing to say if you ain't got no proof. Like, why would she say that? And then if she did say that, shouldn't you do something about it? Shouldn't there be something done?
About cartels being in Rapid City or Sioux Falls?
That are primarily white.
Yes. No, she didn't. She targeted us.
The tribe chairman has seen a lifetime of insults. Every sign marking the start of Lower Brule Sioux tribal land has bullet holes. Noem's cartel charge was one insult too much.
It's dehumanizing. I just don't know if we're really ever have been accepted as human beings sometimes.
250 miles away in another corner of South Dakota, a community lies broken. And the water came how high?
About to the base level of the house. So you see that wood?
Floods this summer ravaged Dennis Johnson's neighborhood in the southeast corner of the state.
The National Guard was not here. They were not deployed. They weren't here to help.
In order for the National Guard to be activated, the county has to request it, and then I make a decision if it's warranted. That's usually typically a very crisis situation, and the National Guard is extremely expensive.
But she did send the state's National Guard to the U.S.-Mexico border, about 1,200 miles away, 5 times.
Now, Governor Noem from South Dakota,
elevating her national political profile. If Noem is confirmed as DHS secretary, she will oversee FEMA and respond to the nation's disasters.
It's for anti-Noem.
Anger still seethes that she didn't use the South Dakota Guard to directly help South Dakotans.
They've been down to the Texas border several times, wasting our money for them to go down there to help a situation that's not affecting us here directly.
But South Dakota is a Republican stronghold. And even as we stood at Dennis Johnson's mangled home, the signs of this family's faith in Noem holds tight as she eyes federal leadership.
I would rather have her standing strong on the issues of abortion and traditional families and things like that than whether the National Guard was here to help me clean up.
That's more important than what happened to your house.
Yeah.
Now, Governor Noem's office did not respond to our repeated requests for comment. But as you mentioned, Aaron, she was on Capitol Hill today. Our story posted this morning, and she was asked about our story as she met with senators in the hallway by reporters. She said it was, quote, absolutely not true that she had neglected the state, the flood victims after that disaster, and that, quote, we're continuing to work through the FEMA process to bring them all the resources they need. She did not address other aspects of our reporting. Aaron?
All right, Kyung, thank you very much for that extensive reporting.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this.
So, like the guy said, he's more into abortion rights and traditional family and whatnot than he is even to caring about his own home and whatnot. So that's why they voted for her, I guess. And so our next story is going to be about Trump and the Canada government in chaos over Trump threat. So Trump has been calling Canada a state. He said he wanted to make Canada and Mexico a state, which I think would be cool, but he's just messing with Canada right now, calling them a state, and Justin Trudeau a mayor or something like that. So let's see what they're talking about.
Tonight, Donald Trump throwing Canada into chaos after calling Canada a state and calling its prime minister Governor Justin Trudeau. Comes as Trump's nemesis in Canada. The country's deputy prime minister, Chrystia Freeland, who's also its finance minister, is gone. She abruptly resigned after clashing with Prime Minister Trudeau, saying he is not doing enough to stand up to Trump and Trump's threat of 25% tariffs on every single good that comes into the United States from Canada. Trump calls her toxic. But there is another top Canadian official now taking Trump on tonight, Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He is calling for his country to use every tool in our toolbox, a direct quote, including cutting off Canadian energy to the United States if Trump follows through with his threat. Warning, quote, the Americans are going to feel the pain as well. Premier Ford is out front with me.
See, I mean, that's the messed up part. The Americans are going to feel the pain as well. In our system, we're always competing and we're always fighting with people. Why a 25% tariff? If they pay that, we're gonna pay the difference, right, as the consumer. And then if we pay that as the difference, and they cut off any kind of energy, it's gonna hurt us too. Like, why do we always have to compete with each other and hurt each other? Why can't we cooperate more? But yeah, see, I'm more for a cooperative society than a competitive society.
Me tonight. And Premier, I appreciate your time. And I want to just start here with your proposal itself. What exactly does cutting off Canadian energy to the United States look like?
Well, first of all, Aaron, thanks for having me on. You know, that's the last thing I want to do. I want to sell more electricity, more power to our U.S. friends and closest allies in the world. But that's a tool that we have in our toolbox. We power over 1.5 million homes.
And so this is what we do with our friends and allies. We're going to tariff and tax and threaten to cut oil off and other things like that. Why have a system where it's always combative? I don't understand that. It's just crazy.
Homes in Michigan and companies in Michigan and New York State and Wisconsin. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to sell more energy to the U.S. I want to sell more critical minerals to the U.S. Again, we're the closest trading partner, closest allies. We do $1.3 trillion of two-way trade. That's more than Japan, China, UK, and France combined. I just feel we aren't the enemy. The big problem, in my opinion, is China. Cheap Chinese products going.
And see, again, we got to compete with somebody. Why is China the problem? In capitalism, you guys want cheap products, right? That's the whole point. You want cheap labor. That's the whole point.
Through Mexico, they're slapping a made in Mexico sticker on, shipping it up through the US and Canada and costing American and Canadian jobs.
So, when you talk about that Americans will feel the pain if you have to go through with this, you specifically threatened to turn off the lights to 1.5 million Americans. And I say that just because if you're specifically talking about electricity coming into the U.S. from Canada, that only makes up about 1% of annual U.S. electricity consumption. That's according to the EIA here in the U.S. But, Premier, when it comes to crude oil, if you go bigger, you're looking at Canadian exports to the U.S., 60% of America's total oil imports come from Canada. So do you want to go bigger in this? If these tariffs are going to go through, should you reciprocate with tariffs, not just on electricity, but on crude oil itself?
Well, we ship down 4.3 million barrels every single day. If there was a tariff on that, that would increase gas by $1 a gallon. That wouldn't go over very well. And, both sides of the border are going to feel the pain. We rely on each other. Ontario is a big auto province. Yeah. And I want to work with the U.S. I love the American people. I spent 20 years of my life there in Chicago, in our Chicago facility in New Jersey. I love Americans. I love the U.S. And we're so much stronger together. Let's build Fort MCAN and let's onshore.
If we're stronger together, wouldn't we be stronger with China too? With all the other people of of the world, all the people of the world being one people with open trade with each other, like one place can make something a little better than the other place. And then just shift it around. That's all we need to do. But they want to do tariffs and taxes and fights and stuff. I'm going to hold it back.
These products from China and create more American and Canadian.
So can I just ask you, taking a step back, and I know some of the stuff Trump had posted, you referred again to Canada as a state. He referred again to Prime Minister Trudeau as a governor. It's not the first time. He had posted that AI-generated image of himself standing next to the Canadian flag with the caption, "Oh, Canada." And that was after Prime Minister Trudeau flew down to Mar-a-Lago unannounced to meet with Trump about his tariff threat, where, Trump...
They do have some of the best memes about Trump, though. Trump just, all these crazy right-wingers or whatnot, like putting out all these, just making Trump look like a god or a saint or whatever. It's so funny.
Joked that Canada could become the 51st state. So can we just take a step back? I know in some of this he's sort of making a joke, but he's doing it again and again and again. And obviously, it is demeaning. I mean, how do you respond to that he keeps referring to Canada as a state and the leader of your country as a governor?
Well, it's up to premiers like myself, which is equivalent to governors down in the U.S.
Yep.
It's our job to go down and inform Americans. We have a large ad campaign going on in the U.S. to inform them that we are their number one trading partner, number one ally in the entire world. The supply chains are so integrated. We're so much stronger together. The only people that win, Aaron, is China. Americans lose, Canadians lose, and that's the problem. And Mexico has to make a decision. You're either with Beijing or you're with Washington. I'll tell you what Canadians are with.
It's crazy. Why can't we all be together? Why can't we all be one people? You're either with Beijing or you're with us. Why is that?
They're with Washington.
So do you take Trump seriously when he mocks Canada, or do you think that that's just, his negotiating tactic?
He has a sense of humor, but I'm more concerned about the trade, making sure that we secure trade on both sides of the border. And this is pretty simple. The president is asked to secure our border. I agree with him 1,000%. We need to secure our border. We're going to secure our border. We have to meet our 2% commitment to NATO, and we're going to do both. So those are two asks that we're going to get done. I've been saying it well before President Trump was elected that we have to meet the 2%. We have to secure our borders. Yeah. And then we move forward and sit down and have a discussion. I'd love to sit down with the president, businessman to businessman, and have a conversation with them because we are so much stronger together.
All right. Well, Premier Ford, I appreciate your time tonight, and thank you.
We got a helicopter going over outside. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. But securing our border, yeah, whatever. Like, it would be cool to make Canada the 51st state and to make Mexico the 52nd state, or it'd probably be broken up into more than just one state for each of those. But as a world, man, we're connected now. We got the internet, we got these cell phones, we all know each other, we're all talking and all this stuff. We need to become one world and unite humanity. I know that, like, when I was young, we used to talk about world peace all the time. That, like, even presidents would talk about world peace. We don't do that anymore. Why do we hate China so much? Because we wanted to ship our jobs somewhere else and gave low wage jobs other places and got cheap stuff back. We should have created more service jobs here, like paid coaches and teachers better, things like that. If we're not gonna make products, small little trinkets or tinkers or whatever you call them, then we need to do other stuff. We need to service old people and young people because those people need stuff. But anyway, again, I'm more for a cooperative world rather than a competitive world. That's CNN's little thoughts on Trump, and we will be back shortly.